We're in mid-2022 and things aren't the best. So, not how I wanted to start this. I mean, you're talking economy, inflation, and money's just a little tight for a lot of people. So how do you keep gaming? Let's talk about cheap. So cheap gaming options. Let's start with the obvious, which is free. Who doesn't want free? I promise this isn't a plug, but Epic Games Store gives away free games every week. I know, it sounds cheesy, but they really do. I have not paid for a single game on the Epic Games Store, and I have a library of like 150 plus games, and a lot of them are good ones. So if you have a PC that can at least run a few games, whether that's laptop, whatever else, even if it's just low settings, it's free. F-R-E-E, free. Next free item, free-ish, is what you're probably watching this on. YouTube data says you're probably watching this on a cell phone. Yes, a cell phone, that little tiny device that you stare into the abyss at most of the day. Probably YouTube videos and TikTok videos and whatever else. Cell phone gaming has come a long way, and there's things like the backbone, which basically turns your phone into a controller on the sides, and you can do things like Game Pass, or you can find plenty of free games on your app store, and there you go. Gaming City. Probably have a cell phone, free way to play games. Next one is not free, but it's probably free for you, and that is Netflix. Yes, Netflix. So Netflix is not just movies anymore, and it's not just DVDs in the mail. If you go check your Netflix app, you actually have options for games. So whether you want to play that on a cell phone or on a tablet or whatever else, they offer games now. They're just built into your subscription. You don't have to pay extra, and free games. Well, you're already paying for them, but free-ish games. It's just in your subscription. Let's flip over to console gaming, whether that's Switch, PlayStation, Xbox, whatever you got. You do have things like GameFly you can subscribe to, so you get a new game every month, keep it as long, yada yada, send it back. I don't even know what it costs, but have you thought about free GameFly? Yes, free, and that is your local library. So for example, I picked up this at my library. I haven't tried it out yet because who has free time, but yes, I got this from my library. I didn't pay anything to rent it. I just had to sign up for a free library card. So you can free games, take home, try new ones, do whatever else for free. Again, free. We're talking cheap, so we're talking free. And I'm talking I have options for Switch, Xbox, PlayStation, even the newest stuff my library generally has, and that's how we decided to even try some games before we buy them, like Zelda: Link to the Past. We got from the library, decided we liked it, and then bought it outright, because this was, before Nintendo decided, hey, let's give out free game trials to our subscribers. Alright, next one you probably heard a lot about too, but that is Game Pass. Really good deal. It doesn't matter if you have an Xbox One, Series, PC. You can just pay a flat fee and then you can play all the games on there. Yes, it's not a free option, but it is one of the cheaper options on the list as long as you're willing to pay for it. I think there's different pricing depending on whether you want a console or PC. I think PC is a little bit cheaper, but then you have to either build a PC that's decent enough to run it or be able to stream it, have good enough internet. Anyway, this or that. Xbox Game Pass, probably the best option for new games if you want to play new games all the time. And my last suggestion to throw out there is thrifting. Yes, remember to hit your thrift stores. Even if it's not a system you necessarily collect for, you can usually find a lot of good options. I completely built a PlayStation 3 collection just off of hitting up Goodwills in my area, and it's turned out pretty well for me. Occasionally I found a few other things too, like PlayStation 4, Xbox One games. I generally steer clear of Xbox 360 games just because they seem to be scratched to heck and back, and I don't want to deal with that. Generally anything that's a Blu-ray works pretty well when you get it from Goodwill or a thrift store. Also remember to check clearance aisles in places like half-price books, because those are also good ways to fill out your collection. Okay, I got a couple more suggestions here. If those aren't floating your boat, you can check places like Target and Walmart. They usually have a few games on clearance if you look hard enough, and you can either add those to your collection, or sometimes what I like to do is I will pick up a decent game from Walmart for say $5 to $10, I'll stash it away sealed, and I will take it to something like a convention. Like around here we had QuadCon. A bunch of vendors showed up and I just traded games. I literally built myself a 3DS collection out of just $5 to $10 Walmart buys. So I came out ahead for sure, and I got some great 3DS titles that I wouldn't have gotten otherwise if I didn't just take all these sealed games that they can sell pretty easily that I got super cheap from Walmart. So what do you think? What are your suggestions for gaming cheap in 2022? Leave those in the comments down below. Hit the like if you thought this was helpful, and we'll catch you next time.